Discover Planet of the Apes. A civilization where humans run wild in the jungles. And the superior beings are apes.
Now the tribunal has placed you in my custody for final disposition. Do you realize what that means? No. Emasculation to begin with. Then experimental surgery on the speech centers, on the brain. And a kind of living death.
Welcome to another Futurism Film Friday. Today's film is the original Planet of the Apes film from 1968, starring Charlton Heston, which itself is a modified version of a novel by Pierre Boulle. Now, this film has a twist ending, and it is a widely known twist ending, and in the internet age, it's probably difficult for the twist ending to be much of a secret, but if you are not aware of the ending of this film and would like to be surprised by the end, then you should stop watching this video now, because it is impossible to review this film for the purposes of futurism without reviewing what the ending is. So now, if you're still watching, the original Planet of the Apes film from 1968 is one of the greatest films of all time. It is not merely a science fiction film, but it is so much more than that, and it really does stand the test of time despite the other additions that this franchise has made. I myself was not able to experience the twist ending of the film because when I was 11 years old, my father saw me watching the film and just told me the ending, so I knew it beforehand, and I was not able to experience any surprise. The brilliance of this film, and considering how it's significantly different from the novel, which itself had another twist ending, less well known, is that it is a commentary on whether humanity is actually as good as it thinks. This is what makes it one of the best films of all time. But from the standpoint of futurism, it deviates substantially from the first principles of futurism, as I will explain. The film starts with a group of astronauts led by an astronaut named Taylor, played by Charlton Heston, and they are traveling on an interstellar journey to find a new planet to populate. And there are just four of them, 3 men and 1 woman, and the woman dies before even landing there. But what happens is that they land on a planet and they think it's a different world. Now, there are many ways in which the film kind of reduces the surprise element of the ending, in large part because the ship's chronometer when the astronauts land actually shows the year that they're in. They are in the year 3978, having left Earth in 1972. So they know that they're 2,000 years in the future and thus are not in their own time. If they believed they were still in their own time, the ending that they're still on Earth would be a surprise, but they do in fact know they're 2,000 years in the future. Now, the script does take into account ways that obscure the details. The atmosphere has a lot of nuclear radiation that prevents the sky from being clear at night, so they cannot see the moon and the stars that they would recognize, and that would tell them that this is Earth. But that aside, there's the bigger problem that the apes all speak English. They speak English with an American accent, And all of this could in fact be seen as a clue. Also towards the end, when the astronaut Taylor finds a human doll that can talk, he could of course just look at the label of the doll, which might, given the time the movie was made, say it was made in Taiwan or something. But these details are overlooked, partly because it's possible the astronaut is in denial and not willing to see the evidence for the framework that it represents. That's why even for the viewer it's necessary to watch this film twice, because the second time you watch it you will see all the little hints that are dropped that this is in fact Earth of 2,000 years later. These are hints that would not be given much attention the first time of viewing the film. Now from the standpoint of futurism though, even though this is one of my favorite movies, it gets the first principles of the accelerating rate of change very wrong. As we know, even if there is a catastrophic event, the progress of technology and intelligence always reverts back to its long-term trend line, no matter how catastrophic of an event that has occurred. For example, after an asteroid hit the Earth in 66 million BC and created one of the biggest extinction events ever that wiped out the vast majority of almost all large creatures on Earth, the trend line of evolution reverted back to where it was supposed to be in a very short time. The recovery period after the major asteroid impact event just was not very long, and intelligence continued to progress on the trend line, getting faster and faster. Therefore, despite the fact that human civilization was obliterated by a nuclear war, the fact that the apes have a much lower technological level than the humans of 1972, the year from which the astronauts originated, is not consistent with what would happen, no matter how big of an impact event or disaster had ever occurred. And some may say that, well, maybe all the intelligent humans were wiped out, and therefore the animalistic, feral humans that are portrayed in this film are the descendants of the less intelligent humans. But it just does not work that way, because even if a very small percentage of the intelligent humans were still alive, all technological knowledge would be retained and things would still revert back to the long-term trend line. And this is very far in the future, 2,000 years in the future, under accelerating rate of change. The year 3978 would differ from 1968 or 2021 by a greater distance than 1 million BC differs from 2021, just under the accelerating rate of change. But otherwise, even though it fails the standards of futurism, it is a very profound film. If you're young and you're not familiar with the original version, I strongly encourage you to watch it. And while there have been many remakes, the original is really in a class by itself. This original film also had 4 sequels that explain the temporal paradox about how the ape society came to be and how humans brought the problems onto themselves, and how the astronaut George Taylor in fact set into motion a sequence of events that caused this entire situation because of the time loop that has occurred. So there are 4 more movies in this series. Towards the end, the quality of the movies does drop, but it explains the temporal paradox very, very well. So I even recommend movies 2 through 5 if you like the first movie. So Planet of the Apes, 1968, is this week's Futurism Film Friday entry. If you like this type of content and you want to learn about every aspect of futurism, how it relates to finance, technology, as well as philosophy and thought, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel and upvote this video. Thank you for watching.